Well, speaking of changes that have happened, there's a slew of changes that have happened in the MSCI index. So they have reconstituted its indices globally, and many Indian stocks have seen changes. Let me go across and try and tell you which are the stocks that stood out. For me, I mean, essentially this is the list. There's nothing that stood out for me, but the fund flows and fund outflows into some of these would be the interesting ones to monitor. So let's try and show you the additions. So the global standard index, the additions that have happened include Berger, and shouldn't surprise. Free float market cap criteria is what brokerages believe MSCI has used, and the list is out. So Berger and shouldn't surprise would have happened. HDFC Asset Management Company, again, shouldn't surprise that it would have happened. Colgate, strong name, likely that should have happened. There's hope of some recovery in real estate, and there's some revival in those prices, so DLF makes the cut as well. But the most obvious ones to make the cut are the insurance companies, because all of them had a significant rally. So I'm not surprised at all by the gains, by the inclusion of ICICI Prudential Life as well as SBI Life. These names shouldn't surprise. Info Edge has had a remarkable move, and that one too makes the list, makes the cut. What's gone out, and an impact from a fund flow perspective predominantly to Yes Bank, but India Bulls, Glenmark and Vodafone Idea also get deleted from this global standard index. So that's as far as the larger names go. Now, if you take into account the small cap index, and some of the additions to the small cap index typically are also stocks which move out of the large cap index and therefore make it to the small cap index, and which is why you have names like Yes Bank and Vodafone Idea out there. But the interesting ones and the good performing ones which have made the cut include a Spandana Spurti, big move in the recent past, good performance, has done well. Polycab, and again shouldn't surprise. Navin Fluorine and Deepak Nitrite, and again a set of stocks in the specialty chemical space which have done very well. So the way people shouldn't be surprised that insurance makes the cut to the global standard index, people shouldn't be surprised that it's a lot of specialty chemical companies that are making the cut their way into the small cap index. Metropolis, and again, Dr. Lal, Metropolis in that whole space has been doing very well. Brigade Enterprises, DLF in the global standard index. Brigade out here. There is Galaxy Surfactants, again, something in that space, in that pocket. And India Bulls, getting deleted from that large cap global standard index essentially, and making their way out here to the small cap index. Now, what does this expectedly do and these are the deletions, by the way. I just thought one name stood out for me, and that was Whirlpool. Otherwise, almost all of the other names that you see out here are companies that haven't quite, done well. I mean, Info Edge has made the cut higher, and therefore this is not a surprise. But otherwise, if you look at almost all the companies that are out here are the ones which haven't quite been able to do very well in the recent past. But the moot question is, what does this do to fund flows? Now, on inclusion in the global standard index, possible inflows into these stocks estimated, this is of course as per the Motilal Oswal estimates, ICICI Prudential Life 180 mil, SBI Life 272 million, Siemens about 140, and Berger Paints about 138. These are the expected inflows into on the inclusion of the global standard index. On exclusion from these names, Vodafone Idea, Glenmark and Indiabulls Housing Finance are the three names that Motilal Oswal estimates. I've been told by my conversations that Yes Bank could also have substantial outflows. No estimates out here, but it could have substantial outflows, so do watch out for that as well. And then we move on to the top constituents as far as MSCI India goes. No surprise that the HDFC Bank is the top billing, about 10.14%. What's changed is ICICI Bank quite materially, a big shift in its weightage out here on the MSCI India index. Reliance stays at the second spot, HDFC at the third spot. Kotak stays out here at 4%. And the two IT names which have seen quite a bit of gyration, TCS and Infosys out there too. And lastly, the FMCG heavyweights, ITC and HUL, notably Axis Bank at 3.35%, but the big change is ICICI Bank at about 5.42%. So most of these are on expected lines. We haven't seen too much of a dramatic change into these indices. The question only is that can these changes continue, or will it bring the flows that people anticipate, or have part of the flows already happened? I must say though, before we move on, is that if you just look at what the banks have done the last 2 or 3 days, people would argue that there was some bit of preempting, but maybe not, because in yesterday's session and day before yesterday, we've seen some chinks in the armor of stocks like ICICI Bank and Axis Bank as well. So keep that at the back of your mind. That's as far as the MSCI changes go.